Welcome to episode 20 of Balancing Chaos with
Kelly
and Gretchen. And Kelly is losing her mind over here because now she has headphones and she's having a hard time keeping a straight face. Wearing headphones. She always can't keep a straight face watching me with headphones. But now she's wearing them and she's going a little nuts.
Well, you can really hear yourself quite well with these.
We should always walk around with the headphones on like this and hear our thoughts, right?
That's right.
So what we're going to talk about today is basically the everyday sexism that happens around us and different things. And this was actually suggested by a listener who brought it up because she works at a place where she went into a building that is focused on a male profession. And she realized that all of the mirrors, and she's not short, but all of the mirrors were like forehead and up, and she couldn't see her face in the mirrors because they assumed that anyone in the building would be a man, so she couldn't see. So she was like, there's so many little things like that we run into, and so we want to talk about a couple of those. So, and Kelly was sort of like, I don't know if I run into any of those, but you're wearing a dress right now. Mm-hmm. Does your dress have pockets? Mm-hmm. Are they pockets you can use?
No.
They're just like decorative flaps, right?
Yes.
Well, you could put like, if you smoked, you could put a cigarette in there.
I don't even know if you could.
It's like a tiny little flap. So that's one of the things that you run into is pockets. And there's this great cartoon that goes around that's like, ask anyone if a woman's wearing a dress with pockets, she will tell you. So if you say like, oh, nice dress. Have you ever done that and been like, yeah, it has pockets too?
Yes.
Have you run into that? Have you said it or have you heard it?
I've heard it and done it and said it.
In the summer, I live in skirts and skirts, and if it doesn't have a pocket, I feel like my hands have been cut off. I need to have a pocket to stash my phone, stash my keys, stash my wallet. So why there aren't more pockets in dresses?
Because it makes you look fat.
Is that why?
Yeah.
I'm already fat.
I mean, I don't like the word fat, but that's the quote. If there's pockets.
So why is it okay for men to have pockets? But even like suits. A lot of women's suits don't have pockets.
Mine do.
Do they?
Yeah.
That you can use?
Yeah.
That aren't just the little slits?
Yeah. All my suit pants have pockets.
Well, that's good. I have a blazer that I have for working events that is... My suit has to have pockets because like when I took pictures, I had to keep backup batteries and all of that. And it's the number one feature I look for in a blazer for events because I need to be able to put my stuff in there, put the walkie-talkie, put all the various things. And if it doesn't have a pocket, and so sometimes I'll pick up one that this looks like it's good. And it's one of those little stupid fake slit pockets. So I guess it's trying to make me look fat and not be useful.
Right. So the sexism is that the assumption is that women don't need pockets because they have a purse.
Right.
Okay, I'm seeing it.
Do you carry a purse?
No.
I don't carry a purse either.
See, I don't pay attention to some of these sexist things. This is why I think this is going to be highly educational for me. Well, my husband and I live in reverse roles for so long.
Well, we actually talked about this because we talked about I was talking about how when my girls were babies, I never carried a diaper bag.
Right.
And my thing was I breastfed, so it was like as long as I had my boobs with me, they would eat. And if I really needed a diaper, probably I would be around someone else who had one and I could borrow one. And I usually kept like a diaper in the car as backup. And it always worked fine. Like I never ran into a problem. And I see these people who would lug their babies into the well visits with the baby in the bucket car seat and a backpack filled with, I don't even know what, and they are going in for a weight check. So I'd see them go in and leave while I was waiting for my kid's appointment. Be like, you could have left half that shit in the car. Just come in, weigh them and leave. And the doctor's offices stock diapers. So I would always plan on getting a diaper from them because, hey, I'm paying for this visit, so I'm going to get a free diaper thrown in at the end and be like, okay, I'm going to need a size 4. Thank you. Snap, snap, off we went. But then we talked about it, and because James was your primary caregiver for the day, he didn't have boobs. It worked.
Right, so he did need a diaper bag.
Yes.
Also, I'm going to highlight a little ism that you just said right there.
Oh, which one?
With the doctor's office.
Okay.
It's actually called the provider's office because there are many nurse practitioners who work in those offices. And physician assistants. So the correct term is a provider. Or a primary care office, a pediatrics office.
Pediatrics office, provider's office.
Yeah.
What is the gender of most nurse practitioners?
Females, but males in nursing is on the rise.
Do they, like, I still will hear people be like, oh, he's a male nurse. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't call me a female teacher. Why would you say male nurse?
Oh, yeah.
It's a very weird thing when nursing is a fairly lucrative career at this point in the game.
Well, we're seeing a lot higher admissions, especially in second degree programs, accelerated baccalaureate programs where people have another bachelor's degree in something else and they go back and they can accelerate through a bachelor's degree in 12 to 18 months. The percentage of males in those, sometimes it can be, in some cohorts, it can be as high as 50%.
I had when I had my daughter, I work at a school with a nursing program, and my first, I wasn't working there when I had Ingrid, but when I had Willa, I was. And so I was their demo patient. So I would go up for the nursing classes, for the maternal childbirth nursing classes, and they would listen to the heartbeat, and they would do like an exam, and I took a student with me to every appointment. And the funniest one was that when I actually delivered, they were super excited because I happened to deliver on their clinical days. So I had students in the delivery room with me.
You let students come in the delivery room with you?
I haven't even finished the story yet. Yeah, I totally did.
I am proud of you.
It gets better. So, and then for the postpartum care, which is just a friggin' horror show, I had, they said, now we have one male student and no one will let him see the postpartum side. And I was like, no. And my thing is always, I always let the students in. Like, even if it's not my students, I let students into all my exams because I'm like, I'm a teacher. How else are you going to learn? Learn on me. Come on in. So I said, no, I'm a teacher. Teacher first. Sure, he can come learn on me. When am I ever going to see him again? It's totally fine. So he came in, he like felt to make sure that my uterus was shrinking and did all that. And I was like, great. You know, and he was like, thank you so much, because no one would let him in.
Yeah.
So fast forward 3 years, and I'm at a conference with a girl from work who have become really good friends with, and we're hanging out and we're getting along great. And she's like, oh, I'm going to Skype my family. And I was like, oh, great. So she Skypes her family. And I look over her shoulder and I'm like, did your husband go to my school? She said, yeah. And I was like, was he in the nursing program? And she said, yeah. And I was like, yeah, he's seen my junk. It totally ended up being my friend's husband.
Oh my God.
So here I was like 3 years before, like, I'm never going to see you again. You need to learn, check it all out. It's wide awake nightmare, enjoy. And then I would see him at other like school events and stuff. Like, oh, hey, what's up? But it was whatever.
Haven't you learned about this community? You can't get away from anybody.
I know, but it never crossed my mind that there would be that connection, I guess. Whatever. He had kids already, so he'd like their kids were the same age as ours, so it wasn't like childbirth was a new experience for him. He just needed to have the clinical experience on the clinical side. So yeah, so I said I should have not had to take my sick leave until after I got home, because I was still teaching those days in the hospital, but it was super fun.
I was so bad about having students when I was giving birth to my first child.
Really?
Oh yeah, because I had an emergency after 36 hours of labor with no pain medication. I was planning a birth at a birthing center, and when I showed up at the birthing center, they checked my cervix, and I had meconium, so they transferred me to the hospital. And then I went on 7 hours of Pitocin, and after 3 people checked me, the third one, I finally begged for the epidural. I said, forget it, I'm not gonna be a hero. I'm just, give me the epidural. Just give it to me. I'm gonna die if you don't. So they said, okay. So they'll go to check. They said, well, we think you're almost dilated, but I think you could handle it. And I said, all right. So they check me, and I looked at the midwife and I said, the head's not down, is it? And she goes, no. I was so mad. Because having a C-section was my biggest fear. So anyway, they wheeled me into the OR rapidly. And I told the surgeon when she came in to do the paperwork, I said, I do not want any students, no medical students, no residents. We're doing all business.
You're probably at a teaching hospital, too.
Yeah, I was at the Harvard teaching hospital. And so she said that they wouldn't be, but I know they were in there. I don't know if they touched me or not. But anyway, I was okay and I survived it. But the second time around, I was much better. With the nursing students, I'm fine. But I don't want someone cutting me who doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
Into my organs. That's where I'm drawing even as a teacher, I'm drawing the line there.
You can't cut me.
No, you're not cutting into me.
So speaking of doctors, this is another one that came up in this conversation with one of my friends, and that when you get hooded for a graduate degree, the way the hood is supposed to work is that there's a loop.
Yeah.
Do you know this?
Yeah.
To hook on
I
your
hook
top,
it to my bra.
to hook on your top button.
Yeah.
Because if you are getting a graduate degree, you must be a man, and if you're a man, you're wearing a shirt, and if you're wearing a shirt, it has a button. So there's always this finagling to figure out how to get the graduate hood to hook. So, and you wear one not all the time, like walking around, but regularly you have to wear yours. So you hook it to your bra?
Yeah. That's an idea that we could patent.
Yeah.
Let's create a new one.
Exactly.
I actually didn't even know. That's why, again, this is how oblivious I am to sexism. I didn't even realize that was the intention of that button. I thought the button was annoying. Oh, it's not a button, it's a loop.
Like a loop to hook on a button. Yeah.
It's a loop. And it always gets twisted. I didn't realize it was because it was supposed to go in a male shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
change that.
Let's whip out your sewing machine and let's make some money.
Exactly.
Those things are expensive.
Oh yeah. So that was one of them. So, and then another one we had talked about was the tampon tax. Are you familiar with that one?
No.
So that is in most states, when you buy feminine hygiene supplies, you have to pay sales tax. And do you even think about that?
I have a Diva cup.
But you paid sales tax for it.
I never thought about it. But you're educating me and I'm feeling very
enlightened. So
right now.
there's a movement to make those non-taxed, because it's a tax that is exclusionary, that only one gender is impacted by it. One sex is impacted by it.
Huh.
So there's movement. So like if you look it up, you'll see there's Chicago is working on getting rid of it, and Minnesota, I think, has gotten rid of it, so that they are non-taxed, and it's sort of like a necessity of life. Like a lot of food isn't taxed because it's a necessity of life. So that is
so odd that that's taxed,
right?
Yeah.
Which then gets into the one that regularly infuriates me, which is when a company can refuse to cover birth control, but they don't have a problem covering Viagra.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of birth control.
Yeah, that's problematic as well.
So Hobby Lobby is a store that I do not go to. And Kelly always makes fun of me about my retail convictions. But Hobby Lobby fought the Supreme Court to say, no, we're a Christian company and we don't want to pay for birth control because birth control murders babies, is their general gist. However, their plan still covers Viagra and still covers vasectomies.
Interesting.
So
wait, this is proof? You have evidence of that?
I have evidence of it. I'll put it in my bibliography. I'll give it to you at the end of the show.
That is wild.
So they still cover those things. So there was this great article that went around, and I don't know if you read it, but it was called...
So wait, they believe in contraception if the male has a vasectomy.
I guess...
Because it still would be considered a form of contraception.
Right? You would think.
I'd like to see their plan.
But that's one of the reasons why I don't go to Hobby Lobby, is because they spent a lot of money. And one of the... You know the church that really fights against all these things? Do you know what church it is?
No.
You'll love this.
What?
It's the Church of Satan.
There's a Church of Satan?
Yes.
How do you know these things, Gretchen?
I'm a member. No. No, because I know these things because they're important to me. So, but the Church of Satan is really kind of more of a political organization at this point, in that they go in and they say, they'll say, oh, well, you need to have counseling before an abortion. And you need to see the beating heart, and you need to do all this stuff.
But they do give them counseling before an abortion.
But there are states that have like serious extreme counseling, air quotes. And the Church of Satan has said it is against our religion to view an ultrasound before having an abortion, and so it's against our religion. So we can opt out of this because it's against our religion to do this. Because the idea is that if you allow one religion to get all these laws passed in the name of God, then if you're supporting this as a freedom of religion choice, then conversely, the Church of Satan gets to
I see.
reflect it the other way. So this isn't really a church. I mean, maybe they have potlucks or something. I don't know. But it's really, they work as a political organization to be the counterpoint of freedom of religion.
Oh my gosh.
That just blew Kelly's mind.
Terrifying.
This is too much for a late afternoon.
You're not a member, right?
How do you know? No, I'm not a member. I'm just like a member of
for me.
PTOs and stuff. But I appreciate what they do as a political organization. I appreciate their efforts.
Okay, I that's a good point.
I am a member of the ACLU, but that is not satanic. That's just civil liberties.
Okay. Thank you.
So anyway, so there's that, but then there was this great article that a lot of people shared a week or so ago from The Week, and it was called "The Female Price of Male Pleasure." Did you read that one?
No.
Because it was on a lot of different things. And this one, the woman went through and talked about how basically she starts talking about the Aziz Ansari case, but then talks about how the default is always that sex is for men's pleasure and women are expected to not enjoy it. And how, but the research, so this is where you would like this. So she went through and she was like, the research on pain for women who are having sex is like 11 studies. I'm scrolling down to find the number. Whereas there have been, for erectile dysfunction, there have been, I lost my place, so I'm trying to find the number. 19, okay, so in PubMed, the clinical trials studying women's sexual problems are 393. And for erectile dysfunction, it's 1,954. So how the idea of, and when they poll men, bad sex is like, oh, it wasn't very good, it wasn't super hot, kind of lame, she was ugly. And when they poll women, it's like, it fucking hurt, and I hated it, and I felt terrible after, and all these things. So they are talking about how it's totally perceived totally differently, but then we got to improve the men's side. We better do all this research and make sure that they're still having a good time, but the research isn't there for women, which I thought was interesting.
I think I'd blame women for that.
Why?
Because researchers typically drive their research, so it seems like there's not as many women interested in studying sexual displeasure as there are is men studying.
But why is that? But when they look at what they're, so there was another one that talked about.
Maybe they think there's more important things to study.
Well, but why is that? It kind of goes into a rabbit hole. Like they did a study and they said, they did a ABC News, did a sex survey in 2004, and they never mention pain for women in sex. Like why didn't you have an orgasm? And they're like, I wasn't in the mood, too young, too inexperienced, I didn't know what I was doing. But it never says like, it fucking hurt. So it's a really, you should read the whole article for the context, because I'm really giving you like the highlights. But
I get it, but I actually think this is a high five to women.
Why is that?
We have better things to study than sex. It kind of shows that men are a little superficial.
Right, but
more men are interested in studying sex than real world problems.
And when they study sex, it's like about
poverty and
erectile dysfunction,
education.
So it's not even, pain or issues. It's like, can't get it up. Why can't I get it up?
Well, if you can't get it up, then you kind of can't perform.
Right. So they do 2,000 studies to try to figure it out. Well, meanwhile, maybe they're just assholes. Anyway, so that wasn't. That's another one too. So so now that you have that lens, I want you to think about places where you've like sort of run into things, and I know people who have who decided to walk down the street and not step aside for men, and men would run into them because the default is that a woman will step aside for you.
I've never experienced that, so I'll say that I work in a female-dominated profession. My husband was a stay-at-home dad for 5 years. So we have a lot of the reverse sexism. Right. Like he, when he'd go to the provider appointments with our children, if I ever, he does 90% of all the healthcare in our family. And anytime I happen to come to an appointment, they would only look at me. They wouldn't even acknowledge him. that he was in the room. But yet they would ask me the question and then I'd turn and ask him. And they still wouldn't get the point. It just blew their mind completely. So we would run into that sort of issue all the time. Even now, the teacher at our younger son's school said, "Oh, your mom always makes you the best lunches," which is somewhat true, but James also makes the lunches.
Right.
The assumption is that I do all these things. But the only time that I really ever experienced sexism, and I think it's tough because I'm in a female-dominated profession, and every place I've worked, even the person all the way at the top, the CEO or the president of the university have been women. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a lot of good examples or exposure in the workplace to it. But the one time I will say is when I was, when I had Maxwell. Because actually, believe it or not, even when I had Cameron, I was a doctoral student, and I told my advisor I was pregnant, and I didn't want to drop out of school, and she was very supportive, and she came up with a plan to help me work through the whole thing. Everyone was super supportive. It was like a non-issue at all. They said, bring him to class, whatever you need to do. It was nothing.
Right.
But when I had Maxwell, I was working at a different university, and I got a lot of criticism because I wasn't going to take the whole semester off. So I was going to just take the 12 weeks, even though a whole month was going to still be unpaid.
Right.
My supervisor, the people that I reported to through the dean's office, they kept saying, "Well, don't you want that time with your baby?" And I said, "Well, I am the only person in my family who works. I can't just take 4 months off unpaid." And then I went to present at a conference when he was 3 months old. And I got so many comments about that, negative comments about how could you possibly leave him and stuff that I know men wouldn't get that same.
Oh, no, there's an awesome chart that just came out that showed the impact on having children on women's income and the impact on having children with men's income. And it is mind-blowing.
Oh, and the best one, which I actually was infuriated about, I won't even throw the major organization, the foundation, under the bus, but I recently applied for a fellowship and I didn't get it. And you can get an interview. They'll do these feedback phone conversations. So when I called to schedule mine, the woman said, the grants administrator said, "Oh, well, you should reapply next year." And I said, "Well, I don't think I'm eligible anymore because you have to be a certain number of years past your PhD." And I'm actually coming up on 5 years since the time I earned my PhD. And she said, "Oh, that's okay. We can give you a waiver because, women, they have many more barriers than men do. If you have children, or you have to go out on leave and you slow down, and it takes much longer for a woman to get to tenure than a man." And I was so mad because I don't think my kids have slowed me down. And they probably have. Imagine how productive I could have been if I didn't have babies. But I've been super productive. I've never let it, I've never once used it as an excuse.
You've also been in the situation, though, where you do have a primary caregiver at home.
Exactly.
Which helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I
totally agree.
So I'd imagine her lens is probably also coming from a two-body situation where the husband is the one who cruises through on his tenure track on time, and
right.
then they do have I know people who've been on the tenure track who do get to pause the clock for maternity leave and all of that.
Most places you can pause your clock. I never did, but you can. You can pause. I did. I switched universities, which extend your tenure because universities don't like to accept certain amount of times towards tenure, but you can pause it. So anyway, I don't feel like I've never had any egregious, but I know they exist. I'm not saying that.
I almost wonder if the bias is in there is not necessarily, like, the other bias to consider is that bias of the two working parent household versus the one parent working household. Right?
Yeah.
I know that when my girls were little, Dave always did the daycare drop-off, and so I would leave, and 99% of the time they would be in jammies eating breakfast or whatever. I'd be like, "Okay, bye, see ya." And I would go to pick them up at the end of the day, and I'd meet the early shift people coming out of the preschool. "Oh, I just love her outfit today. Oh my God, it is adorable." And I'm like, "Oh, can't wait to see it. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't dress her. Like, I eat my breakfast, give him a kiss, and leave. And then Dave gets him ready. So it was always a thing with us that my thing was pretend I'm dead. So I'm not going to lay out the clothes. I'm not going to give you a schedule. I'm not going to tell you what you need. I'm going to let you. And that was how we started. I read this great article when I first had Ingrid called on Time Magazine about gatekeepers and how mothers can be gatekeepers in that they say, well, I want you to, take her to do this, but make sure you have the bag. Make sure you have this. Make sure you do this. Don't forget to do that. You should make sure you do this. And I was kind of like there are some things that he does that drive me crazy, but I'm like, it's like loading the dishwasher. He loaded the dishwasher. He did it wrong, but he did it. So I'm not going to tell him he did it wrong because I don't want him to stop doing it.
Well, I got great advice. So
and it's the same thing with kids. Like, okay, so you're going to take them to do this thing, and it's like, it's nothing bad. It's just different than what I would do. And I have to be like, okay, they're getting 2 different experiences, and they're going to get different experiences from each parent. And it's all done with love and care and attention, and it's all good. And he doesn't flinch when I go away for a conference. Like, yeah, okay. It's not like, oh, what's the schedule? What am I supposed to do? He's not like, they don't babysit.
Right.
Dads don't babysit.
Completely agree. Yeah, we, what was I? Oh, I just had a good point about that. Oh, my husband's mother, actually, my mother-in-law gave me great advice, the same exact advice, basically, when we were first dating, because James is very particular, to say the least. Anyone who knows him knows this is absolutely true. So he is, and he's situationally particular, and one of the areas is the laundry. I don't know if I've showed you his folding before.
I don't think I've seen his folding.
Oh, it looks like it's straight out of, I mean, it's I can't even say a department store because they don't even fold that as nice as he does anymore. I mean, every shirt will line up perfectly. It's unbelievable. So,
you showed me the drawers when you did Pomeray. I know. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you can see all the colors. So anyway, he would complain about the way I did the laundry, or I didn't put the right color in, or I didn't put it on the right setting. And then, of course, I didn't fold the clothes the correct way. So I was telling his mom this, and she goes, oh, well, let him do it then.
Yeah.
If he has complaints, just tell him to do it. So I said, huh. So I took that advice and ran. So I don't do the laundry. I don't make the bed. There's a lot that I don't do. In fact, last night I was talking about how I love a clean house, but I hate to clean. And she said, huh, I couldn't notice. Because I really do. He really does so much. But he's particular, and I don't get in his way, and he doesn't get in my way about the things I'm particular about, and just works that way.
But that's like the stuff that just perpetuates. So, and when kids are little, I think it's a lot. When you're talking about kids and sexism, it's a lot more accepted still for girls to do whatever, but boys are still sort of, I think, held back a little bit on what they can do. So,
like what?
Like things are traditionally female. So cooking, like I've had friends, and not our friend across the street, but I've had other friends whose kids are into cooking and wanted to play kitchen, and their fathers are like, no, we're not going to play kitchen for this kid. When it's like, have you watched the Food Network? It's all men.
Yeah, men.
If even like they should be interested in cooking or sewing. Like, oh, sewing is really more for girls, and not just what other people say, but what marketers say. When you look at the sewing machines, like, here's a sewing machine, and it is so pink, and it's like, why does it have to be pink? Make it orange. Make it whatever. It doesn't have to be frilly and girly. There are kids sewing is welding with fabric.
Oh,
your husband sews.
I think it's really, again, I think the sexism thing is tough for me because my husband sews. He sews beautiful quilts. He makes our curtains. He designs them. He picks up the fabric. He and Cameron and Maxwell both sew.
Yeah.
They cook. I mean, I don't.
They go play hockey and they get to experience all of it. So in your house, you don't see that a lot. No. But I think that there are other houses that are.
All of my closest friends, their husbands are the primary meal preparers and chefs of the house.
Not me.
I think that I don't know if things are improving or it's just the social contagion of the people I surround myself with. The couple is more of a partnership than it used to be historically. Because I know in my family, my mom always did all the cooking, and
we're definitely a partnership. Yeah. But I do most of the cooking. But like last night, I made dinner, and then Dave did all the dishes afterwards, and the kids cleaned off the table, and we just have our own balance there. On the cooking stuff, I was had Dave go through the Budget Bites site that you had posted about, which I've heard about a million times, and I texted kind of like, oh my God, you're in my head, because she posted on her Facebook page about Budget Bites and Plan to Eat. So I was like, look, go through this site and pick out some meals, and I'll add them and I'll play with them. Yeah. And everything he picked was some version of tacos.
He loves tacos.
He loves tacos, and he's allergic to jalapeno peppers, which is like double annoying. Isn't that funny. Stupid? So I'm like, okay, can you find something other than tacos? And he was like, no, burritos.
He likes Mexican.
He loves Mexican food. But, I'm the one who manages the meals and the meal planning and the food and all of that.
Me too, but I'm so... that's a thing I'm particular about.
But I need to be clear, like, for dinner, because in the mornings he makes all of our lunches. We all kind of do our own thing for breakfast. We don't do like a family breakfast because we're all going in different directions. But he makes salads for himself and me, and half the time Ingrid makes her own lunch, and the other half he makes her lunch. And then sometimes, if Willa doesn't want school lunch, he'll make her lunch. So he handles lunches. I just grab the tub off the counter and throw it in my bag and go, and that's my lunch. So he does that part, but I'm the one responsible for dinners.
So you don't think sexism is getting better?
Does it have to come back to the politics of the era? Because I really feel like right now, I think it would be...
Well, you're right. I'm sorry. That was a really bad question now. But I mean, ignoring that,
I think it is. I think it is getting better, and that I'm hopeful. I mean, one of the things too is that your kids are growing up not seeing as strong a gender divide, right?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it's a complete opposite of what society, the societal norm.
And my kids know their father as a caregiver and not just, like the old 50s trope of the guy who comes home and kicks off his shoes and puts his feet up and asks him to bring me dinner, bring me a beer.
A beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Cameron will say when he grows up, he wants to be a dad.
Aww.
And I think it's so sweet. And I'll say one thing that I'm really irritated about is I went to this, Valentine's Day is my favorite holiday ever. And I just love, I love pink. Yes. I think it's fun. It's about love. It's just lovely. So I went to try to get the boys a shirt, like a Valentine's Day shirt to wear to school. Nothing. Not even a red, pink glimmer of anything. But let me tell you, 4 straight rows of girl heart, fluffy dresses, cute shirts.
And I'm the one that walks by and goes, right? No.
Yeah. And I am so annoyed about it. And even Cameron last night asked if he could get Valentine's Day pajamas. And I said, Cameron, I tried. Actually, I did try. And there's none. There's none to exist.
Yeah.
It's annoying to me.
It is one of those things and it's always like the boys' clothes are always like dinosaurs and skulls and sports.
Or, just horrible. I mean, boys can dress cute.
Yeah. I know. That's the next. When you look at, I don't know how it would be for you, but when I look at class pictures of my elementary school, I am always struck by, in the group photo, the clothes are much more gender neutral. Like we're all in blue plaid and now when you look at the class, a group, it's like the girls have to be in pink or else they're not a girl. And boys have to be in monster trucks and all of that. I mean, one of Willa's favorite pajamas were these motorcycle pajamas that were a hand-me-down. And she loved those pajamas. And then she ended up getting... it was like Dave's Motorbike Shop or something it was called. So she ended up getting that. She loved motorcycle shirts, but it's a lot easier to put your daughter in those things than it is for parents of boys to be accepted when they put their boys in things that would be deemed too girly, which I think has to change. And I think that there should be more equity across that, and should be like or do your kids ever paint their fingernails?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like you're good with that. There are some people that'll be like, no.
I'm sure I'm getting judged by people, but I don't worry about it.
But
they
it's
think
like,
it's so fun. They love it. I recently just did it for them, and I did them all in rainbow colors.
Aw.
They thought it was so cool.
and it's cool. It's like, but those are, they people who would flinch at that, but then have no problem when a guy goes out and gets a full sleeve of a naked lady tattoo. Like, that's totally manly, but fingernail polish is not.
I will say that at both of my kids' preschools, the big brand is Primary. You'd probably like it, primary.com.
I've seen it advertised, but my kids are too big for it. Like, I would have loved it when my kids were little.
See, I'm not seeing it as bad as you're describing it, but I also have boys, so I might not be as aware.
You also have boys, and you're also just getting into the public schools.
Yeah.
So you start to see it more. I remember being, or I remember looking at toys, and there would be like the stacking rings, the rainbow stacking rings for toddlers.
Yeah.
And they had the rainbow ones that that you're picturing in your head right now, but right next to it, they had ones that were 10 different shades of pink, like the girl ones. And the girl ones, if you look, are always like $1 more.
Why don't you just go ahead and say where you're headed?
What?
Speaking of very girly things.
What are you talking about?
With Willa.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, well, today I was saying I'm in this conundrum because my older daughter is very civic-minded and politically active in her student council, and the student council is catering or doing the concessions or whatever for a cheering competition. So to support one daughter's civic mindedness, I have to take the other daughter to the cheering competition, which she's going to go, and it's like a middle school B league. Like, it's not a serious, I mean, it is very serious for those kids.
Very serious.
Yes. But it's, and so I have to take the other one to this cheering competition, which is just like, ugh.
So Willa doesn't want to go to the cheering competition?
No, she does. She can't wait. It got canceled for snow like last week, and she was devastated. And so it's a reschedule tonight. And then actually tonight, there was this other event that I got invited to after I had committed to this. And so I was thinking about going, and Dave was going to take the girls, and I was like, no, I'll just do it. I'll just tear off that Band-Aid, and I'll go. But
you know what? I have a little confession.
What?
I was a cheerleader.
Yes.
I was also president of the student council. You can merge both those worlds, Gretchen.
They can work together.
It's no big deal.
The other, so, and then they had the other one too is,
that was middle school.
This sort of ties into this. So like, we had the Valentine dance this weekend where Kelly came over and awesomely did like the most amazing braids, which, by the way, Ingrid's did not come out until last night. She wore them for 3 days, wore them to school. She loved them.
I'm glad they stayed in because her hair is very silky.
And she was like, you need to learn how to do this, Mom. You should watch those tutorials. And I'm just like, whatever. But Kelly came over and did the most awesome hairstyles for my girls. But so our town has the Valentine dance, which up until they changed the name on the event. The ticket said father-daughter dance, and they changed it when the event's to Valentine.
Oh.
And there is a lot of debate about the idea of a father-daughter dance versus a more inclusive dance. So do you have any?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but I do think it should be an inclusive dance. I mean, totally. I even just in the neighborhood with my son, sorry, that was a bad sentence, but in my son's class, I know of one of the students who doesn't have a father present.
Yep.
Who did go to the dance, but it wasn't a father. So
right.
I do think there are so many of those scenarios. That is not,
I'm surprised that they
the other way
it
too.
yet.
There could be single fathers raising daughters, because I think there's a mother-son dance too, isn't there?
Right.
When's that?
May, around Mother's Day.
Oh, I'll be going to that.
I wonder. So there's a push in town to change it to be more inclusive. I have, friends who have 2 moms and they have a daughter.
Right.
So what happens?
What dance do they get to go to?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I think that it is good to make that, but there's so many people that complain because it's never been like that. Find someone else to take your kid, do whatever. And I know people who actually have purposely not gone to the dance in our town as a protest. So I've said, well, my girls are going to go. This isn't a protest. And we're not going to protest it, but we would totally support it being more inclusive.
Inclusive, yeah. I mean, it still can have the same concept, but...
Do you think it should be like, should the Valentine dance include mothers and sons and fathers and daughters, or should there still be 2 dances? What would you...
Here's the thing. It's when I was thinking about it when I was driving over here to do their hair, and I thought, this is kind of cute. Dave's going to the father-daughter dance with the girls. And then I thought a little bit more about if I were Dave going to the dance, what am I actually going to be doing?
Oh, you sit at the table with other dads that you know while the girls run around with their friends.
So I walk through the door, I start talking to the girls, and I ask them, so what do you do at the father-daughter dance? Play with our friends. So I think the concept of taking your child out exclusively, like if you're a father and you have daughters, giving them, just it being special and about them, or a mother with her sons being special, I think that's a great concept, but the actual reality is that they play with their friends and the dads talk to the dads. So what's the big deal of just having it be a family Valentine's dance?
I wonder if there's any value in it being ignoring the parent that brings them, but in having it be a place where it's all girls and a place where it's all boys.
I see. Maybe.
I don't know.
But seriously, if we made it a family dance, it would be awesome because then I could come over and do your hair too.
No, I would not. I would be
you don't want braids?
I wouldn't go to it. Like, I wouldn't go to the family dance, because the other thing is that I think the other...
So you'd have an inclusive dance, but you wouldn't even go?
No.
Wow, Gretchen.
Well, because I think it should be inclusive, but I also don't want it to be the thing that you take them to that dance because you're the mom and you take them to every kid activity.
Yeah, but why couldn't it be that the whole family goes?
No, it could be. And that's not my family that would say that, but I can see there being other families that'd be like, I'm not going to put on my suit and tie and go to this stupid dance. So it ends up becoming like another activity where it's a bunch of moms sitting around, hanging out.
So let me get this straight. You're going to boycott the family dance because of the families out there that would say that because of the fathers out there or the men out there that would say to the woman, I'm not going. You're boycotting it in the name of that?
I'm boycotting it in the name of, this is an activity that I do not need to manage.
Okay. So you're just choosing not to go.
I'm not boycotting it.
Regardless of what they do to the Valentine dance, you're never going.
No, I wouldn't go. Because it's like, it's been there, and plus for my kids, it's been their tradition all along. And my husband grew up without a father, so anytime there's any kind of father-daughter anything, he goes because he can and he is there. So I think that drives that decision too. But I also just, like today, I'm the one who manages the after school activities. I'm the one who shuttles him around, and it's fine. And if I needed Dave to, he would, and it would be fine. But I would stand back just to kind of be like that gatekeeper thing. Like, nope, this is going to be your night. This is an activity for you to do with them, and I'm going to hang back.
Okay, I have an alternative viewpoint, not on your specific issue, but on this whole concept of the dance being inclusive and who should go and who shouldn't. Couldn't fathers just do something special with their daughters and get dressed up and not be an organized event?
But then all their friends wouldn't be there.
Right, that's kind of my point. They're not going to hang out with their father anyway.
Well, and Dave takes her girls out all the time to do stuff with them. No offense,
Dave. I'm sorry. When he listens, he's going to be so offended.
Well, he's the only in our conversation, he's the one that's the father of daughters because you have sons, right? And all of that. So, I mean, he takes them out, and he'll Saturday when I just was exhausted, he packed them up and they went out to the movies and they went to lunch and they went to the flea market and went all over town, had a great time. It's not, and I think, but part of it, I think it goes way, way, way back to not being the gatekeeper of that information. So I'm not, it wouldn't impact my family, but I can see other families that would just end up defaulting that, well, there's a game on, mom's going to take the kids to the family dance because I got stuff to do. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel like in this town, the peer pressure to take your kid to that dance as a father is there,
My
but I don't
Facebook
want to leave
feed
other
was
people out.
Flooded with father-daughter, which was so cute.
I know.
Actually, it was so fun. I'm glad I got to do their hair.
Yeah, it was awesome. And next year's Ingrid's last year, so even after that, then she and I are going to do something on that night anyway.
Oh, you can only go until 7th grade?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of weird.
Totally fine with the divide on the father-daughter, but cutting them off. But honestly, I think it becomes like, I think it's like a natural thing, because Dave texted
No, I'm
a
saying
picture.
let's get more inclusive, more people can go, and let's not put an age limit on it. Let's really widen it up.
So then
Equity.
it would just be moms, no kids, with wine. You don't have to have a kid. You don't have to. You can bring your emotional support peacock. It's gonna be totally fine.
Sounds fun.
So I would still not go, and I think that. I mean, other towns around us have more inclusive dances, but I still think even then there is I think it's heavier on the dad side, just because of this one in our town is just so, what's the word, legendary.
I'm sure many towns have the historic father-daughter dance, or no?
Well, but I mean, like in our area, ours is like the big one, and other schools and other towns do them, but they're like in the elementary school gym, and they're just a little bit less serious. Like, this is a serious event, and I do think it should be open to all.
This is a serious event.
But I also think that moms should not feel like they have to attend, because I feel like because it kind of goes back to that same thing of moms feeling like they have to attend everything. You know, like why don't you want to take a full semester's leave? Don't you want to be there? Whereas this is one time when it's like, as it's been so far, I'm like, can't be there. Not allowed. You can't even guilt me out about this. I'm not allowed to go, so I'm not going. But whereas then you get that, so then people are like, oh, I can't believe you would miss a single moment of your precious sweet angel's life. Weird. Huh. Like, no, not going. That's my thought.
All right.
So will you go to the mother-son dance?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Of course. I'm excited about it.
And if it became inclusive, would you make James come?
Yes, absolutely.
There you go.
He would love it. We would have so much fun. We would dance our faces off.
Yes, I'm sure you would. Actually, you would. I know you would. I've seen pictures. Just so you know, Kelly's family is basically, they're all walking exclamation points. So they would dance their faces off, and they would have a good time.
Oh, so James is a walking exclamation point too?
You definitely are, and Cam definitely is. I haven't gotten a read on Maxwell as much as Cam.
He's chill.
James is, well, that video you sent of the football thing, he's pretty exclamation pointy. So I would say he is, if not an exclamation point, he's at least like air quotes.
Well, Cameron's calling them exciting marks. That must be what they're teaching him at school.
Yeah.
So when you read a book to him and there's an exclamation point and you don't, you don't follow its rule?
Yes,
follow the rule. He was like, no, you have to read it again. And you have to say, and we went to the store. And he is so obsessed with it right now. And so there's this one book we have, and every sentence is an exclamation point. So my throat hurts at the end of reading it. And I love exclamation points. I overuse them in writing.
Well, and so Kelly is a big fan of Siri, and so half the time Siri will spell out exclamation. So we'll be like, did you see what I just saw? Exclamation. And it cracks me up.
It's because what happens is I'll say I should say exclamation point and Siri will get it, but I get so excited that I'll say, did you see that? Exclamation, and then it will send because I didn't even get the point out. But,
right.
Oh, I love exclamation points.
Yes, I can see why.
They're just energy. And
So basically it's just one of those things that, and feel free to share on Facebook if you have encountered any of those weird little, one of them that I had, a weird little everyday sexism thing, is that my kids have my last name and they are Girl Scouts, and I signed them up for Girl Scout camp, and I filled out all the forms and filled out everything, and then on the last page it listed us as Dave's last name family.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, all of the girls in my family are not that last name, but it just defaulted. However, The reason why I mentioned the Girl Scouts specifically is because I tweeted about it as kind of like an eye rolly, like, oh, because it wasn't like the Girl Scouts were in their back room being like, we're going to be all patriarchal here. It's just the way database software is written that it assumes that it would be his last name for our family, and we're weird. That's not how it works. So I tweeted about it. They called me on the phone. Did I tell you about this?
No.
I guess I didn't. They called me on the phone within like an hour, and they're like, where did you see this? Because we work really hard to make sure that doesn't happen. And so I was like, oh, well, it was on the last page of the financial account thing. And they're like, okay. And then literally at the end of the day, they called me back and said, we fixed it. Can you please check it out? And now it said our last name instead of his last name.
Wow.
Which is just, and he's used to that.
Your Twitter.
He's run into that because
creates a lot of change.
Well, because a lot of people don't, or he's been assumed to be a stepfather.
Right.
Because he has a different last name than the rest of us. I'm like, nope, he is their father. He is biologically their father. He is legally their father. There's nothing weird here. We're just, except for the way that we chose to name our kids. We just, for our own reasons, we passed on my name and not his. And, but forms and stuff default to, oh, well, like it doesn't give you an option to be anything else. So, and I don't even do I don't do the family thing anyway. I'll just say like, oh, love Gretchen and Dave, not, the Schaefers or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so that was so Girl Scouts was really awesome and really proactive in fixing it and making it. And I really didn't expect it. And I told them like, look, I know it's not your fault. It's the database software that you're using. But that one was pretty interesting.
Did you send out a positive tweet?
Oh, totally.
After that?
Yeah. Absolutely, of course.
Well, I figured you would.
I'm good, Twitter. So what is your favorite thing this week?
My favorite thing? Oh. Okay. So last week we talked, sorry, it came on fast, the favorite thing. So
coming in hot.
So the last week we talked about food and all of the philosophies I like. My food philosophy. Well, I have a similar philosophy for products.
Okay.
For personal products, household cleaning supplies, etc. But the problem is that when you get the natural deodorant, it is terrible. It either does not work, or B, it smells horrible. So I recently came upon a natural deodorant. They tested. It was on the Today Show. I think they tested. I didn't watch the show, but I saw the links. They tested 5 natural deodorants, and it's called Native, and it actually works very well. And I ordered it, and I hated the idea of ordering it online because you couldn't smell it.
Right.
And the smells are kind of odd too. It's like coconut, lavender, eucalyptus, and that could go.
That can go either way.
It can go either way depending on how natural this really is. So anyway, they came in the mail, and I ordered some for James and myself, and it worked. It's awesome. It really does work. At the end of the day, you should smell me right now. You should. See, I smell good. I put this on at 6 o'clock this morning, and it works really well. It's a little expensive. It's $10 a bottle, but a little.
So what color? What color?
I got unscented because I was very nervous about the scents because scents bother me. I don't use any kind of scent unless it's essential oil because it gives me a headache.
Yeah.
I'm really sensitive to it. So I got unscented. I got coconut, and then I got lavender. And James got, oh shoot, I wish I could remember his, but I like the smell of all his too. I bought a 3-pack. So it was I spent $60 on deodorant. It was 6 tubes or rolls or whatever. But he really likes it too.
Well, good.
And so it doesn't have any antiperspirant. It doesn't have parabens. It's all completely all natural.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that it worked out for you.
So you're gonna?
I'll take a whiff later. So mine this week is going to be my Instant Pot, and half the reason why I say this is because Ingrid keeps saying, like, have you used your Instant Pot as a favorite thing? Because it's a favorite thing and you use it a lot. You should say your Instant Pot. So this one, shout out to my 11-year-old Instant Pot. So I got an Instant Pot 2 years ago, and we use it probably once a week at this point. And I use it, and I love it for, like, one of my favorite things is so stupidly easy. And my food issues are like, oh my God, I need to get something on the table. So I use frozen meatballs, and throw in like a layer of frozen meatballs and then a box of pasta and then a jar of sauce and then a jar of water, and I close it up and I put it on 5 minutes and it cooks and it's all perfectly done with like hot meatballs, and that serves us and then gives us enough for leftovers for the next day for lunch. And it is, and like the pasta, I haven't found it works well with spaghetti, so I've done it with like spirally pasta or shells or something. I did a macaroni and cheese using that, a one pot macaroni and cheese. Or
so does it taste like a crock pot, or does it actually taste, because you know how crock pot gives it has a funky taste. I actually don't even like anything cooked in a crock pot unless it's a soup, and even that sometimes well, I don't know, it's a stainless steel liner, so it's not a ceramic liner. And I haven't used my crock pot in 2 years. I kept it because I used to make this thing at Christmas that was nice to keep in the crock pot, but I need to get rid of it because I haven't used it. And you can use this as a crock pot if you wanted to. Another one is to do hard-boiled eggs. So you put your eggs in and you put a cup of water in and you cook them for 5 minutes, and then you put them in, let them cool in the pot for 5 minutes, and you put them in an ice bath for 5 minutes, and they peel super easy. So if you like hard-boiled eggs, you can make a whole batch of those. We did it at Easter to dye eggs. You can do like there's a million different recipes that you can do with it, but those are a couple that I do right away. I'm trying to think of what it was that I did. I did meatballs, like a appetizer meatball that is a crock pot recipe I have, and it was going to a party and I was going to be going in like an hour. So I went to the store and bought a frozen bag of meatballs and the chili sauce and all that and dumped it in and put it on 5 minutes, and it cooked them perfectly, and I just took the whole thing over and cooked it that way. So you can do soups, you can do slow cooker, you can make yogurt in it if you wanted to make your own yogurt. Ooh.
You can do all kinds of different things. So, and it's like, I think they're now like, they have different, you can do rice, you can do whatever, but they have a couple different sizes. Mine is like the 6-quart size, and it's big. That's why I need a cabinet to hold it, but it works great. And it is a nice way to get dinner done quickly, even though like the pasta thing, it's not like pasta's hard. Like I could boil the pasta, I could nuke the meatballs, I could heat up the sauce, but then you're babysitting all three of those things at once. Whereas this is dump it all in, lock it up, walk away and go do something else, and then dinner's ready when it beeps.
Well, can I just tell you a quick story about that?
Sure.
So, you know now that James and I prep it's not all our food, but we try to prep the lunch and then some snacks for the week, just to make the week easier. So, the other thing is that I usually search for new recipes every week, just because I honestly don't know why I do that, but I like to try. Yeah, I like to try different stuff. So anyway, part of that problem is that when I search for recipes, I just say, "Ooh, that looks good," and I'll look and see what's in it, but I don't ever read the directions. So it was, I don't know, maybe a month ago now, I had this soup recipe. It had pasta in it. It's like what you're describing. And so I was cooking. So I was getting ready to do that. So I'd cut everything up. And I also was cooking muffins simultaneously. And I was cooking something else. And our neighbor stopped by unexpectedly. And I was home alone. And the other thing you'll have to know is I'm not tidy when I cook. So my kitchen looks like a bomb went off. I have so many, every pot is going, the oven's going. I've got the laptop set up with the recipe. And I'm trying to figure this out, and he's talking to me, and he's like, "Wow, what are you doing over here? You're planning you having a party?" I said, "Oh no, we usually cook during the week." And I am realizing that this is an Instapot. But I don't have an Instapot. So I'm trying to just casually cook like I'm a cook, that like I always do this. And he's talking to me, and I'm just putting stuff in the pot because it doesn't tell you how to convert it if it's meant for an Instapot. And it's very difficult to just cook it on a regular pot on the stove when it's supposed to be Instapot. It came out disgusting.
So you need an Instant Pot.
I feel really bad. I regret not just stopping and finding a different recipe with similar ingredients because I wasted basically a whole pot.
You can do squash that you might otherwise roast.
But here's the thing, I didn't even know what an Instapot was at that time. I mean, I'd never even heard of an Instapot, but suddenly everyone's talking about Instapot. Where have I been living? Well, these aren't new, right?
They're not new. They were like when I got mine 2 years ago, and it was sort of like internet cool then, but now they sell them like at Target and at Kohl's, and now they've gotten more mainstream. So I heard about it because I'm a nerd, and then other people heard about it, and so they were like a huge item at Christmas, and I see more and more people getting them now.
Talking about it.
Yeah,
I had never heard of it.
Yeah,
I just read, even when I was cooking it, until I realized that an instant. Why did this come out terrible? Because there's such recipes as one pots.
Right.
I just thought it was that.
Right.
So anyway.
Well, cool. All right. Well, you can always find us on Facebook at Balancing Chaos, where Kelly's been posting awesome recipes and pictures of all the food she cooks. And I've had other people, my sister texted me a picture that she made one of the recipes that Kelly had shared. And we're posting all kinds of interesting things there. And you can always email us if you have any questions at balancingchaospodcast@gmail.com. And you can listen to us and feel free to leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. And until next week, bye.
Bye.